Welcome back to the North Georgia Life Podcast. It's Jake, your host. Today, we are at the Atlanta Safari Park in Commerce, Georgia. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, I don't know how to prepare you for this. One, I don't really care what your plans are. You absolutely need to plan a day to take yourself. If it's just you, it will be worth it. If it's yourself and a significant other, your roommates, your family, if you have somebody coming to town that you're just like, you dread when that person comes to town, take them to the freaking Atlanta Safari. We were driving through the safari park, and at one point, I was laughing so hard I couldn't drive. I was paralyzed with laughter. And I'm not gonna spoil everything for you. There are parts of this interview and the podcast with Katie that you might need to pull the car over because you'll be laughing so hard. I was trying to quell my laughter so that I'm not laughing over her on my microphone in the podcast. This is just like, you listen to these stories and you shake your head and you're just like, these are normal people that have like an abnormal just disposition to like seize life. Maybe that's the best way to say it, of like, we get one opportunity to live the life we're living, and you're just going to hear this story and you're going to be like, how? And it's just like, they just decided they were. And now we have this beautiful treasure that's on its fourth season being open in North Georgia. And the property is gorgeous. They've got this brand new barn dominium that they're incorporating with their park. But the actual experience there, the canary enclosure, our son got to feed giraffe lettuce, by hand, like a giraffe face, like right there in your face. And then going through the safari park and some of the things that have coming up that are going to be, add-ons to the animals that they have there. It's just incredible. And if you're the person, or maybe the person that it's like been a long time since you have had a good laugh, like you're just having a rough season, or somebody that is in a just depressing funk, put them in a car, drive them to the Atlanta Safari Park. You will not leave in the same mental, emotional state that you went there in. We all know that sometimes when we get in those places, like we need something. Sometimes it's large animals, wildlife, to get us out because we have trouble getting ourselves out. And a really good laugh and being that close with these incredible animals it's an easy fix to a really hard place in life. So if that's you, or if you know somebody telling you, I cannot remember the last time that I laughed that hard for that long to the point that I couldn't operate the vehicle that I was driving. And it was fine. We did, it's like, you're driving through. It takes 30, 45 minutes to drive through. And we just had the best time, got some of the best videos and pictures. Make it there, and your experience and your life and your day and your week will all be better. Probably the best endorsement I can give anybody. Your life is going to get better after you go to this place. So you know how to find us on Facebook, Instagram, North Georgia Life Podcast at gmail.com. If you have episode suggestions for the future. And hey, do me. I'm going to try to be better about reminding everybody when you're going to these places, whether it's restaurants, small businesses, family places like this, whatever. The power of Google reviews is incredible. So leave Google reviews that help other people find places like this and just fall in love with North Georgia. And then if you find out about, if any of these places, if the podcast is what brings you there, like give us a little love as well. Leave a review on whatever platform you're listening to. I'm not a good advertiser or marketer of myself because I just don't care. But the more people, the more I can remind other people that if, like, there's value in this for you, help other people find out about it, because the more people find out about it, the more they just like their life where they live. And like that's a good thing. So it's not marketing me or the podcast or whatever. It's just helping people enjoy their life more. And who does not want that? Like, my gosh, that's it. Last two things before we get started. One, pro tip going through the safari park. Ask for an empty bucket or two when you're getting your feed buckets going through the safari park. Very critical, very, very critical to have backup buckets because some of the animals will absolutely steal it out of your hands. So have backups and make sure all the food is not in just the one bucket that will be stolen from you. I'm just telling you. And you will never, ever look at a garden hose the same way again. Welcome back to the North Georgia Life Podcast. Jake, your host, and today we are at a location that if you have not seen any of the feeds on social media or anything like that, you're missing out because if you're having a bad day, you definitely need to check it out because they're all hilarious. But we are at the Atlanta Safari Park, Commerce, Georgia. Very easy to get to. Take 85 up to Commerce, and we're, 15 minutes or so off the exit?
Exactly.
And we're with Katie Mogensen, and Katie is kind of a all things here.
I'm co-founder on my business card.
Co-founder on the business card.
But I really do everything.
Yeah, 16 things on the back of the business card.
That's right.
This is one of these places that I don't even know where to start. But let's start where we start with most people, which is how did you find your way to the Commerce, Georgia area?
That's a great question.
You a Georgia native?
I'm not. No, I grew up in Michigan. Yes. And my husband grew up in Virginia.
Okay.
So we both knew we did not want to live in the snow.
Yes.
And certainly don't want to take care of animals in that kind of inclement weather. We really wanted an area that was still very agricultural. We knew when we decided to become parents, we were thinking about what kind of childhood we wanted for our kids. And we felt really blessed to grow up before the internet. And yes, we wanted an unplugged, childhood for our kids. And so we really thought for a long time, we became extremely blessed. Unlike, I think a lot of people were with the real estate around the pandemic. So we had, for a starter home, a duplex in the Panhandle of Florida. And then within 4 or 5 years of buying it, the property value quadrupled.
Yeah.
And so we just had this really unique opportunity to sell it. And you're like, hey, we're still in our mid 30s. If I have a chance to try to pursue a dream, it's now. So we did. We sold it. And now my husband had helped build and open 2 other safari parks beforehand. So we had a general idea of the blueprint. It's not like we did it cold turkey. But no, we did a lot of research. We wanted to be in a certain part of the country where it still got a little bit cold because for us, we're thinking about managing herds. So you want it to get a little bit of a freeze to kill parasites in the soil, but you don't want it to be so cold all the time that there's a major amount of infrastructure you have to build for barns and taking care of animals. And then I was pretty set on, I knew I needed to be close to 85 because although this is an agricultural type business, it's agritourism. So I really wanted to be off of a major highway. And then my husband's parameter was no less, than 100 acres. So we have 150 acres here with room to grow. And then we wanted to be close to a major population. So we're smack dab between Atlanta and Greenville.
Yeah.
And the name, we've gotten a lot of questions about Atlanta Safari Park in Commerce, Georgia.
Yeah.
But we believe we serve the Atlanta metro area.
Yeah, we're close enough.
Yeah. I know that we're not
There's not 150 acres for this in Atlanta.
For sure. Absolutely. So we just really felt like it served the Atlanta metro area. The traffic jam you're going to get out here is going to be the llamas and not the traditional traffic jam for Atlanta. And I hope that people are able to come out and really see the beautiful countryside Georgia has just outside of Atlanta.
Yeah. It's a great drive. It's a very relaxing drive, especially once you get off the interstate and it's the beautiful rural North Georgia area.
Yeah.
Your husband has built 2 safari parks before that.
That's right.
What is the background?
Sure.
Okay, so he had 2, but the one was the first one. So how? What?
Great question. So Chris is a 3rd generation exotic rancher. So he's helped take care of. He has grown up. Chris tells you stories of his childhood. He's like, oh yeah, one time I got hit in the back of the head by a reindeer, and you're like, That's not normal. That's not no. And we have 2 boys. They are currently 2 and 4 years old, and they go to school and everyone talks about the animals that they have. And our boys have no idea that they have 2 giraffe, and like, that's unusual. Like, it's not just like Spot the dog. They're like, oh yeah, we have giraffe. And it's really funny because we have to clarify sometimes when they're like, I want alligator. And I'm like, okay, buddy. And I'm like, is it a real one or is it a toy? And I like have to specify because they're like, it's a toy. Okay, cool, great. I just clarifying, like, that's not normal. So Chris had a really unique childhood with it being like a family business, and the 2 parks that he had helped build and open. One was just south of Montgomery in Alabama. My dad's side of the family is all from Alabama. And so I spent many summers in this part of the country between Alabama and Georgia. And so we knew we liked this area a lot of really great family values and open spaces. And then Chris had helped build the Dallas Safari Park just outside of Dallas as well. So we knew the framework about what we wanted. It's very interesting working with your spouse.
Yeah.
We do it quite well. I'm very proud of the teamwork that we can do. I always joke around when people are like, advice, how do you do it? I'm like, listen, think about it. Doesn't matter in 3 weeks, 3 months, or 3 years. If the answer is no, let it go. Don't fight over it. Move on. If you really can't come to an answer, sleep on it, because time will always sort it out no matter what. You're like, well, I guess this is the way that it was supposed to be. And then my background, I grew up in Michigan, in Southwest Michigan, and from probably as early as 5, maybe early, like very young. Can you tell I like to talk? Like I'm a chatterbox. I've never met a stranger, but.
And I'm going to go with your husband is not the talker since he's the builder.
Yes.
With animals. Exotic animals.
Yes. So he and I are yin and yang in that way. Okay. We balance each other very well. But when I was a small kid, as much as I was a chatterbox and very energetic, I would lay still for hours in these old barns to try to hand feed the stray barn cats, like the feral barn cats from my hand. And my babysitter to this day, she will shout out to Shirley Pease. She's like, we should have known then you'd grow up training wild animals, because you could never get you to stop talking except for you were out there training those wild barn cats. And so I think early on, I knew that I really liked animals. And the older I got, especially like you hit middle school and you're like, I prefer animals to people, And then the older I got and learned more about animals and then endangered species, I really felt like my gift was my voice for animals and to try to represent them. And we're so blessed to have this life, to leave the world better than we found it.
You built this over what period of time?
We built the park 1 year and 1 day from signing the papers on the property, or from moving on the property.
Holy cow.
I will tell you, there are photos of us like putting in fence posts by headlights at midnight.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. And I think like this is an example of the American dream. You do it or you go hungry. You do it and you get it done. Or like, if I could give my, any advice to like younger version of me, like the sooner you realize like this one phrase, like no one's coming to save you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. Like you have to believe in yourself so hard and put in the work and not expect like no one else is coming. Like there were times we had a young child who's 4 now, but like there were times we used to put the car on speakerphone in the car and the other phone on speakerphone with us working so that I could then help my husband like set fence poles and like string lines until midnight and then go home and sleep. And then he'd have, help during the day to set a fence post, but it's him and one guy. And then, during the day when the toddler, is taking a nap, then I'm working on building a website and like it's.
Yeah. And you've got a few fence posts.
Yeah. So
just a few.
The property's on 150 acres. We really like to try to do a double fence barrier. And that's just because the white-tailed deer population here in Georgia carry what's called meningeal worm, which can be really harmful to the llamas or any of the camelid species. And so that's just one way we have an extra buffer between any of that. But yeah, no, there's a lot of fence posts out here.
So you were in Florida. You sold your duplex in Florida. Was there a transition period, or had you, when you were doing that, were you already eyeing this property that this is where we're going to go when this sells?
Yes, all great questions. There's lots of people who I think would like to know the answer to this. my husband at the time was managing the Alabama Safari Park, and we had found the property. We're helping build to open the Dallas Park, and it was family business. And there just comes a time where this is a very hard job to do because there's really no turning it off. We have just over 400 animals here. Like,
they don't care about your day or your schedule.
Like, imagine being a parent, but then like animals, like just how people take care of their dog and cat at home. Like, these animals all have those social needs, medical needs, nutritional needs. And so when you're working that hard with something and you're putting in all of those hours, you kind of want to be able to have ownership in that. And there comes a time where you're like, if I'm working this hard, you kind of want it to be your own. And then you also have an opportunity to make your own mark and to do things in your own way. And so I think there was a time where people thought we were crazy, like leaving the family business to start the exact same business. But for us, we were both working in a corporate position. The family business had 4 parks that we would travel to. And the biggest thing for us was that we were starting a family, and that wasn't the childhood we wanted for our kids. You don't want to travel between 4 different states. Like, we want them to grow up, have all their own friends and one school, and to be really stable. I really give all of my credit to my beginning to 4-H. Like, I was in the 4-H program. It taught me so much. I was able to have a really strong foundation for friends and a work ethic. And so we wanted that for our kids. And so we made this decision to leave. And we currently are in our 3rd season. As of May, we'll start our 4th season. So we have built quite a bit, but what you're seeing right now for construction is we have this big new barn dominium that will be the new like gift shop welcome center. And then behind you, we have construction. This will be the state's first ever walk-through kangaroo exhibit.
Get out of here.
Yes, we're going to do mixed species in there. So there'll be some Australian shell ducks, some fish, and eventually kookaburra. That will have like a staff member to talk to guests about what they're seeing. But we're really excited as the park grows. We've got a lot of big plans to bring some cool stuff out here.
Your husband was in this 3rd generation exotic zoo. Like, we're not going to go down that rabbit trail, but I have so many questions.
That's right. He's not here. I'm sure he would tell it much better than I.
Did his great-great-grandpa bring over the giraffe on the Mayflower? Is that where this all started?
I think each generation likes to do things a little bit differently as well, and maybe learn and grow, and everyone wants to make their own mark.
Sure.
No one wants to live in the shadow of someone their whole life either. And so like there's something really, deep in that.
Well, and if you're doing this, let's be honest, you both have to have some level of like innate entrepreneurial gene. And entrepreneurs just don't work for other people.
That's right.
It's just,
that's right. Absolutely.
Even if it's a family business,
absolutely. And there's so much love and respect. Absolutely. But at the same
they understand that.
Yeah.
I don't even know where, like, we've met several of your staff already. You have so many different types of positions, I'm certain, with this. And then you have the whole like animal care, veterinary, all of that. How do you go about, like, I had this dream, and I know a system critical part of this dream is people that I don't either currently know or have expertise that I know not of. How did you go about bridging that gap? Because it's one thing to be, it's an exceptional thing to be out doing the hard work, especially like fence posts, because you do not have small fence posts either. These are not small T-posts. So you have that, but then you have this like possibly, bigger mountain to move, which is for any of this to work for more than a couple of weeks, we have to have these skill positions or these knowledge base that it wasn't here.
Absolutely.
It's not like you were coming into an establishment, buying a zoo that was already had these people.
That's right.
You're starting something somewhere completely new on a raw piece of land. And
recruitment, right? I think that's hard, finding talent. Chris and I, for many years, Chris is my husband's name. We have done a lot of the positions. We just this year are really hiring out our management team because we don't want to face burnout. We're doing crazy hours. But I think most like ranchers or farmers, they're like unsympathetic. This is the job, right? Right? I love that those are our neighbors because that's really the mentality you have to be around if you're going to do this. But at the same time, we do have 2 young kids and we don't want to work all the time. They love being out here. They're 2 little boys who are like, dirt, rocks, this is perfect.
Right.
But at the same time, you don't want to work your entire life away. So right now we're building our mid-level management. we really see the best way to do this work is divide it into 3 different departments. So we have our facilities team who helps with all of the maintenance and then new project growth. And then we have our animal care department who handles everything animal care. And then we have our guest services team who helps with, group bookings and school groups and admission and that sort of thing. So, and then we have our vet who has a team of mobile vets who's able to come out, and she's wonderful. She's a graduate from the University of Georgia, and it absolutely takes a team completely. We're blessed with the community that we came into. Our neighbors have helped out sometimes, before we even had a skid steer or tractor to unload the fence poles when they came. Like, we were like, well, if I have to, we're just going to cut open the bands and roll them off the trailer that way if I had to, you'll make it work. But our neighbor came over and helped unload everything at Kent. And we were just like, how kind. And I think that they were excited to see this go still being used like pasture land, because this land was cattle, grazed for so long instead of subdivisions and that sort of thing. So we're happy to keep it true to its land form, but share it with so many other people now.
So let's go into what all you have here. You've got 150 some acres and you have multiple building projects going on. And I don't know how many, just from the pulling in the gate to where the walkthrough part is, I'm like, I don't even know how many different kinds of animals I saw, but many.
Yes.
And we haven't gone through the park.
Yes.
So how many do you know?
Yeah.
Do you know how many
we have
animals you
over 30 different species.
Okay.
We have just over 400 animals, but close to 200 are parakeets for our bird aviary. So that makes it feel inflated. But no, we have a big collection of hoofstock and birds right now. That's our primarily what we have. Our big highlight that, is the centerpiece of the park here is our giraffe herd. Conservation's a big cornerstone about what we do. I really feel like the money that we make at the park, a portion of that needs to go back to saving animals in the wild. I'm a firm believer that these animals are ambassadors for their wild counterparts. So the giraffe are just like gentle giants. They're so sweet. And when you go through safari, guaranteed you're going to lose a bucket. If it's not from a zebra or a bison, the camels, they're known as the bucket bandits. They will steal every bucket they can. But we save the best for last. So if you don't like animals after they've robbed you on your safari trail, then the gentle giants like the giraffe, or then at the end, the parakeets are really everyone's Disney princess moment. Because you go in with your parakeet stick and it's, and they fly and land right on you. And it's really special.
Your experience that people go through here, you've got the walks through safari, and you've got just a fantastic playground in the middle of it. So if you've got multiple kids with you and some of them are a little bit timid or having a bad day, you've got that. But then surrounding that, you have the animal experience. And that's going to be, is that going to be where part of what the kangaroo exhibit's going to be?
The parakeets and the kangaroo will be right next to each other.
Okay.
We're trying to, as we develop the walkthrough, do regional zones. And I think that will really help with our education, the conservation messaging, or you can do a little bit of storytelling through the exhibits because you're all in one region.
Yeah.
So that's what we're hoping to do. So the kangaroo exhibit will be right next to the parakeets.
How long do people typically stay moseying around and driving through?
I recommend an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours now that we have the playground. The drive-through safari is going to take you about 45 minutes.
Wow.
The zebra will come right up to you. We have American bison. We have water buffalo. We've got 3 different species of deer. We have red deer and fallow deer in the first pasture. And our brand new species we got this year, we have a small herd of elk, which took a very long time to do because deer species are very strictly regulated, as they should be. But we had to get them from someone in the state who already had them, who had surplus elk. And so we found this beautiful herd, and the personalities are incredible. We named them after presidents and first ladies because it just felt so fitting. What an honor.
Awesome.
So our bull elk, his name is Teddy for Theodore Roosevelt. Which,
great outdoorsman.
Exactly. And then the females are Eleanor, Martha, and Jackie. So we just love them. And they all have their personalities. So they'll come right up. You'll be able to see them today when you go through safari. They're very sweet-tempered. Yeah. But my personal favorite, which it's a hit or miss if people just love them or don't, but it's got to be the llama herd. So I personally love the llamas because they're a species I can get out in the pasture and kind of interact with a little bit. They're not trying to kill you all the time, like you don't want to go buy a wildebeest mom with baby. You've seen The Lion King, Mufasa, Mufasa.
That's right.
But the llamas are really known. We have a nickname for them here as the Llama Mafia, because as you pull in, one llama will stand at the hood of your car and the rest of the llamas all come to your windows like a hold up to like check if you have more parked grain to like take the parked grain from you. And I just think how clever, right? I don't think people give animals enough credit for how clever they are. Like that's really problem solving.
Who's going to be the decoy this round?
Exactly. Yeah. Your turn. You get to go hold up the car.
Right. You make it, but we're all going to eat.
Exactly. Yeah, so I really do love the personalities. We have 43 llamas out there. I can name every one of them by sight. And the staff still make fun of me for that because we probably have like 6 or 8 like all brown llamas. Like, well, I mean, their ears are different. Their hair looks different. This one just has this attitude. And they're like, yeah, okay. Like, so, yeah. But we do like photo IDs. So we have a name almost every single animal out there. And then we do photo ID binders so that our animal care staff know them, know their history, know their personalities, know their tendencies. Yeah, I mean, these animals aren't that much different than like dogs and cats at home where they have all of those personality traits. It's just, they're still wild though. Like we joke around, like the staff go through and drive around all day because you would be surprised how many people attempt to try to get out of their vehicle.
Oh, no.
Like, no. Like, I think it's what an honor that people trust you so much. But at the same time, you're like, no, these are still wild animals. Like, you need to stay in the vehicle. Yeah, they trust you and they'll come up to you because you are the one caged or the one in the vehicle driving through their habitat. Like, they're on, 55, 60 acre pastures. You're the one contained. You stay in your area. Yeah. So I like the model that we have set up for animals and how they interact. And we're really hoping for our like company brand as we develop the walkthrough. I really want to stick to that as our brand. I believe that people should be as close to animals as possible while keeping them as safe as possible. I think you have to have an emotional connection to an animal if you're ever going to expect anyone to try to save them or have this conservation impact, because kids are not going to care about saving wild places or endangered species if all they care about are video games and they don't.
Or if it's just something on a screen.
There's something they say, kids who spend more time outside, they did a study about like outdoor classrooms and how there was like 30% higher in like science testing scores. And it was because the brain was able to pull from multiple different reference points from your senses, whether they like heard it and saw it and smelt it or touched it. Hopefully no one's tasting anything, but it's all of those receptors in your brain that you're able to pull memories from. And so I really believe that zoos and safari parks, our mission should be to save wild animals and wild spaces. And I think in order to do that, you have to find a way to connect emotionally.
It's a great segue to some of the education I'm just thinking about like, man, if I was in grade school, like what a cool field trip. I mean, the field trip of all field trips. But anything that you want to talk about in terms of educational programs, what you do, what you offer, what you have coming up?
Yeah, we do offer, we do school field trips here. So we offer big discounts for schools because we really want education to be a cornerstone of our purpose here and what we're doing. And then they are able to feed the giraffe and the animals. We do the wagon tours for our school groups, so they're not going through on the bus, and then they have a guide who goes with them and answers questions and that sort of thing. I would say to people who are looking to go to school for something like this, I went to a special college in Southern California called Moorpark College and got a degree in exotic animal training and management. And it was 2 years, and it was running a zoo and then doing schoolwork as well. So we don't have any kind of zoo school type program. There are some out there like that, but ours are primarily the schools will come out, maybe spend 2 hours and be able to take lunch under the new picnic pavilion. And
you said you're coming up on your 4th season when you have really hard days, because how can you not?
Yeah.
What's just a great memory you have, and if you can double up.
Yeah.
I'm dying to know funniest story.
Oh, sure. I have way too many stories for the time that we have. There's certainly a couple. I would say one of the hardest things is sometimes emotional burnout. Besides, I know I'm always going to have a million things to do, but I never ask for self-pity. This is all self-induced. You know, like, I'm the
I did this to
problem,
me.
it's me. This is all self-induced, right? And we build as much and as fast and as hard progress as what I'm the one driving it. So if we want to like, hey, we're good with where we're at, what we're going. Yeah, so I do recognize that. I think there's an important...
I'm just not dealing with it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I
there's an
see
important...
it.
Yeah.
I'm just not doing anything about it.
Well, Katie, who put you in this situation? Well, past Katie. So, no, but I think it's a two-part answer. There are days where, and this can be an emotional burnout because we love the animals so passionately, so fiercely, and it doesn't always turn out, right? Like not everyone makes it. And there are times, so like I leave it all on the floor every day. I know that I do not walk away from this park if I have not done my absolute best for every one of them. And if they don't make it, I can live with that. And so, and a lot of the times we're able to somehow pull something miraculous out. And the staff are like, oh no, I fully believe you guys are going to do it. And I'm like, what faith? Like, I appreciate that. Like, wow, they believe in me in that way. But there are times that you have emotional burnout. And unfortunately, animals don't live as long as people, right? And so you also have to remember what a blessing it is to have this heartache, that I was able to have such a love to lose it, which is hard because it happens, like the llamas aren't going to live very long. And I've had some great llamas, but there's a two-part where you have to refill your tank. One, if I can just sit long enough, any child, honestly, under 10 who comes in and you get the opportunity to see them, like you hear them laugh or ask questions and you feel like you reached one, that is really like reinvigorates me that like what we're doing here has purpose. There are times where I have had some incredible once in a lifetime relationships with animals that may never happen again. And I would never try to like recreate, but some of my best friends in life have been a golden eagle, a red fox, a black leopard, a tiger, have been some of my absolute besties.
Wow.
And to lose them were devastating. And some of them was old age and some was just I left the job and moved to a different job. And that's okay. Like it just, you take all of that and those lessons that you get. One story that we have right now who's really special just in the last month was we have one species here called banteng. They're an endangered species of cow from Southeast Asia. And there are only species that are breeding that are endangered here. And we have this little cow born during the last day of the terrible ice, rain, snow. It was 1 degree the night before.
Yeah.
And she was born. And although the mom was attentive, when they're born and they're wet, they can't regulate body temperature for a little while. And so when I went through and saw her, I thought she was dead already. And I thought, stillborn. And so I pulled a senior staff member to come out with me because it's very dangerous to get between mom and baby. And when I got there, she was still breathing. And I was like, what else to do? You leave it all on the table. So I pulled her. I immediately cranked my car to 90. I took off, my jacket. I'm trying to dry her off. It took me 4.5 hours rotating towels out of the dryer, wrapping her up, taking her into our home. And then I was able to finally get her body temperature to start reading on the thermometer. And then we were able to get her colostrum. The next day, because you're like, okay, great, but you're never breathing any easier until you get through 48 hours. So then the next day she wouldn't take any milk, even though she was up and alert. But the next day she was up and alert and she wouldn't take a bottle. And so we talked to our vet. And of course, like the vets consulted on all stages of this, but the vet came out. So we had to then sedate one of the other banteng, do a blood draw, do a blood transfusion, give it to this little baby banteng, and then save her. A week later, then she gets scours, which is like bloody diarrhea. Save her again from that. A week or 10 days later, gets it a little bit again. And I'm like holding my breath. And so we finally have made it to about a month where I feel like we're good, like solid. We can name her. You've already fallen in love with her. When you're asking for like funny stories, like that recharges your battery. Like every time I look at little Annabelle, that cow, now introduced with the goats in the petting zoo, because it's very important for her mental and social development that she's with other like hooved animals so that she can go back with her herd when she's big enough. But I mean, that you're like, we did it. I pulled out a miracle, saved her. Had I not been there at that time and found her and our vet team and our animal care team, and everyone, watching all the little details and subtleties, because an animal that small, diarrhea can be, huge. So, but at the same time, she's also my funniest story for this week, because we're used to, I do everything I can really to try to keep moms with babies. I think that's very important. It's also a lot of work, to be fair. But we're used to, if we have to, like maybe a goat, maybe a llama, much more gentle species. Well, baby Annabelle is a cow. And I forgot, it's been a minute since I've done a bigger animal on a bottle. And so I jump over the fence to go give Annabelle her morning bottle. And normally when a cow goes to help stimulate the udder, they really just like headbutt up into the udder. Well, Annabelle did that straight to my downtown. And I was like, oh my God. I'm telling you, feet off the ground. And I immediately looked around like, did anyone see this? No one saw it. I'm so grateful. I should never tell this story because, well, now everyone knows. But and then as I'm feeding her, she goes again, and I'm just like, I'm so surprised. I was like, what just happened? Oh my! Is there an HR department I can talk to? Like, do I need counseling after this? Like, this sweet little baby cow I saved is out here just really, yeah. So I give her bottle, and she goes, like, she gets halfway through, and it's typical for them to go again to like try to like get the flow to go more, whatever. And she just knocks this thing out of my hands. And I, like, at this point, I'm like, I look like such a rookie. Like, someone, who is she in charge here? Absolutely no way. Like, someone check her resume, because. Wow. But I mean, so that this week alone is my funny story. I've had some pretty, like in this industry, you're gonna make mistakes. Hopefully, they're not mistakes that kill people. My funniest mistake I've ever made was friend of mine and we had been cleaning all the big cat exhibits, and it was so hot and I was so thirsty, and we were out and kind of in the field, and so we had come up to the back of the barn, and I was like, oh, please go get the garden hose. Like, we'll just drink out of the garden hose. Anyone who's listening who's grossed out by drinking out of the garden hose should just stop listening now, because what comes next will scar you. So we go to drink, and she drinks first and I drink next. And then I pull the garden hose back and I look at it and I'm like, hey, Ariane, where'd you get this garden hose? And she's like, oh, from the back of the barn. I was like, the back of the barn, which is the vet clinic? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, do you notice anything about this garden hose? She goes, no. And I'm like, the end's been cut off. And she's like, yeah. I was like, why would the end be cut off? And she's like, why? And I was like, the male lion Fozzie the week before had been pulled up for an enema from a hairball from his mane. And she had handed me the lion enema hose, and we were both drinking out of it. And I was like, oh, this is, I just, sometimes you can't make this stuff up. You can't, it's not my proudest moment, I will tell you that. But you asked for my funniest story. That's my go-to at a conference. My go-to.
That also needs to probably make its way into some sort of like family gathering, Thanksgiving.
I'm not proud of that moment, but
that's pretty epic. That is pretty epic.
Yeah, but to be fair, I've got a lot of really great highlight moments, but I'm not good about bragging on myself. I'd rather poke fun. I would say probably the relationship that probably changed me forever was there was this little black leopard who was born, and her mom, it was the first time mom, she wasn't taking care of the cubs. When you would go to tent the skin, you like a hydration test to see if the skin comes back, the cubs' skin was staying tented. And so we knew that we would probably lose the cubs. So we pulled them. I had helped raise a bunch of lions and tigers in the past, so I was familiar with what we were doing, but this was my first ever leopard. And they are so different in that they're born with this like fighting spirit. And so it was Xena and Mystique were their names. And Xena, I got to name, she was the runt. And so she was Xena Warrior Princess because she was the runt. And, they went through so much. Again, I wish we would have, like, knowing what I know now with raising the leopard cubs, I wish we would have done a blood transfusion because these cubs didn't get that passive transfer to make them healthier. So we dealt with health issues quite a bit until they were like 3 months old. But again, you like learn every time you learn like a little bit something so that you can do better for the next animal. We were able to successfully raise those cubs, and they've gone on to their own breeding programs elsewhere. But Xena was my best friend.
And was that here?
No, it was another place that I had worked.
Okay.
We hope in the future to be able to have like cats and primates here, but we want to grow slowly, organically.
Yeah.
Right now, it's pretty easy. Anything here eats hay. But in the future, that would be something I'm passionate about.
I was going to ask you what your, in the coming years, plans for growth, which you've already shared some of those with some of the construction projects. Any animals that you have on your docket for that are already on their way here, just haven't arrived, or that you have coming?
Good questions. Okay, this is not public knowledge, but we have already spoken for, and the plan is in motion. The construction team is set up. We break ground in May for the state's first ever Nile hippo exhibit.
Get out of here.
So we have built this last year. We did some grading work because we'd like to do a much larger giraffe yard. While we were over there, we realized there's this big, beautiful natural spring that has fed upon currently in safari. Well, we realized if we put a road between there where we want to access the back of the giraffe yard, that all of a sudden I could have a whole second pond. And so we measured out, it'll be the third largest Nile hippo exhibit in the country. And we're very excited about it. Very excited. And again, they're just like a water cow. So it doesn't change our food bill really much here at all. They eat hay, they eat some grain. The watermelons, hey, this is a good area for growing watermelons. Yes, Georgia produce represent. But no, that's going to be very exciting. And I think that there's some really cool conservation storytelling with that. Nile hippos used to be just super plentiful. They're now listed as vulnerable. I think one of the big things that we're seeing in Africa with conservation is that there's a type of medicine that's being given to cattle. It was banned in some of the Asian countries because it just decimated the vulture populations. And people don't normally like vultures. They don't look very pretty, but they
serve a purpose.
Absolutely. Vultures save you millions of dollars, billions probably, realistically, in the cleanup crew. Right. And so you're seeing, when you have less vultures, more carcasses and more spread of disease. And so you had a whole group of Nile hippos pass away from anthrax, from carcass, and so now all of a sudden you're seeing a drop in hippo populations. And I believe everything is delicately connected and it's all balanced, even if we don't understand it. Now that's how it was made to be. And so I think that there's a really cool educational messaging that we can do there with hippos and how they help out. And
so that's starting in May. When do you think you might?
I would love to open that this fall.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We try to move quick.
All right.
Again, it may be setback. When we update our permit, that will be something we update on our permit. So we're permitted by both state and federal. So those are all things, all the powers that be, if they give blessing, it will open by fall. He has to be here for the inspection for the permit. So he could be on grounds by the summer, but he cannot be on display until he's added to the permit.
Gotcha.
So, yes.
From just a big picture, you shared earlier just that whole, no one's coming to save you. You have to realize that if you're going to sail around the world, you're going to be your chef, you're going to be your flight crew, you're going to be your navigator, you're going to row the boat, you're going to do all the things.
Yeah.
From your journey over just your professional time in this realm, what do you feel like outside of that is the best thing that you've done to help yourself?
I think it would be a blend. The first thing that comes right off the top of my head is reading. There's nothing better than to walk in a room full of books because you have so many friends, so many minds, so much experience just at your fingertips and mistakes that you can learn that you'd never have to make yourself. So reading can really help you in some capacity, strengthen yourself or teach you things you don't know, or YouTube even, people can self-teach a lot. But I think the really important mentality that we have here is that I never want to be the smartest person in the room. And if I am, I'm in the wrong room. And I try to always hire people who are smarter than me or can help bring something different that I'm not good at. I don't need to hire people who are good at what I'm good at. You have to be really honest with yourself about what your weakness is to be able to, if you want to be stronger and better, you have to do an analysis on yourself and be real. And then also at the same time, forgive yourself, take it easy, where you're hey, it's okay to not be okay right now or to be tired, or coffee really helps.
Coffee's amazing.
Yeah, coffee's amazing. But also I think sometimes, for us, especially with our family, loyalty is huge, but also remember that sometimes what got you here is not going to get you there. And so I'm not saying like we would never move out old employees. What they have helped us do and build, incredible. They'll be like family. Like they've seen us when we had a shoestring budget, you know, versus how we're growing, what we're doing. But also it's okay. And like I always try to tell the staff, like when we bring in new management, we bring in new team, like your job's not threatened, you're not going anywhere. But what got us here and where we're at now is not going to get us to the next. Like if I want to double what this park is doing, what is the insanity saying? Like you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. So bring in other talent and other, you know, mentality. Like it's hard. I'm so grateful for our new guest services manager who we hired, but it was so funny to feel those feelings in me when I saw her for the first time walk away with my little school like reservation calendar book where I was like, oh, that's my book. The first time I saw her, like, what's she doing with my book? And then the next time I saw her, I was like, oh, look, like there she goes. Like she, you know, she has wings. She's taken off. All the schools will now contact her instead of me. And then I'm just like immediately, and now I'm like, okay, now what else can I be doing? Like, what else have I not been able to do? Because I am, you know, the marketing team as well and the signage team and like helping. My dream is to be able to hire out all those positions and have the park run without me having to be here. I think that's the only way you have a business outlive you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my dream would be to go back to some of the fun stuff with the education and the training and the like guest programs. My dream long term, and I already have like a name set aside and a logo, but I'd really like to do a nonprofit branch to the business that strictly is like our conservation education type stuff, because that way we can do quite a bit with like volunteer work. And coming from the background that I came from Moore Park College, I also saw a unique way that you can have students help out in some way. And obviously it's tricky because these are still wild animals and this is still dangerous scenarios, but we're close enough. And our vets from UGA, I would love to partner in the future as, you know, something with University of Georgia for exotic animal medicine or programs here. So those are probably, if you have to ask like what's, you know, the 10-year plus plan, like those are definitely on the list. And you just dream big, right? Because even if you only get 50% of them done, like how cool.
How cool.
Yeah.
This is not something I think we kicked around, but anytime I have a chance to ask people how they go about hiring good people, do you have a hidden trait or a singular thing that you look for when you're hiring people? What is something that you look for that maybe your applicants don't know you're looking for?
Yeah, that's so hard. Hiring, I think, is finding good staff is hands down one of the hardest things. And I think that maybe this generation, and I'm sure probably every generation has said this, if we're being honest, like, but I think that it's hard to get old because like you just look at everyone, like young up and comers where you're like, well, you have to work. And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I think that's probably everyone.
Is that an app?
Yeah. Is there an app for that? Can I do it remotely?
Is it a work
like,
app?
I'd like to work on the animal care department, but can I do it remotely? And I no way. I love younger generations. I'm not saying that in any way to be disrespectful, but I think the best thing that I can, when I'm looking for maybe someone in animal care, right, who really wants to work with animals, I really personally, I'm not looking for someone with a bachelor's degree. And I would say, like, if you have the opportunity to, and you don't have to get a bachelor's degree, these jobs don't pay, I don't think, enough for you to get a bachelor's degree. And I think it's really unfair for all of the zoos who require that from zookeepers, but then don't pay them appropriate wages for like what you would need to live, plus pay your student loans for a bachelor's degree. So, I mean, for me, I'm looking for someone, maybe an associate's degree. But the best advice, like, and I don't know how to find this necessarily easily on a resume, but it's like the person who shows up first and leaves last, who's willing to like listen, take direction. Those are the people we're looking for, because I can train you animals. How do you find someone on paper who has like the work ethic is what you're looking for? Like, I need you to show up. That's 50% of the job. I can train you the rest of it. I want someone who likes animals a lot, but doesn't think they're a Disney princess, because we don't want them to get hurt.
Right.
And I want them to have like a healthy respect and fear at the same time, you know, like don't be scared of them, but also like don't try to ride the ostrich or, you know, the zebra. Like I actually had a staff member once who really, he told me, he's like, when you're gone, I'm going to ride that ostrich. And I was like, you will die. You're like, what? I named that ostrich Godzilla because he was the meanest thing. And then one day it was the best. I don't work at the zoo anymore, so I could tell the story. One day over the radio, I heard, like animal care to Katie, Godzilla is loose. Godzilla is loose. And he had broken out of his pen. He was running around safari. He wasn't like out with the public, but he was just like loose with the cows. And I was like, he's fine. We'll get him. But I never thought I'd hear the day over the radio that they called Godzilla is loose. Yeah.
Yeah. The showing up part, I feel like it was probably on a podcast years ago. I had a client of ours that he had told, it's just this weird conversation we got into. He had told his daughters, he had 2 daughters, when they were entering the workforce, you have one rule. Look at the person on the left, look to the person on your right, and work harder than both of them. You'll be fine if you do that. That's it. I was like, I told our older kids when they were getting their first job, I said, there's only 2 rules for any job you'll ever have forever. I said, one is do more than what's expected.
Yeah.
Even if it's not that much, just do more than what's expected. And I said, the second is own your mistakes.
Yeah, so true.
I said, if you do those 2 things, I said, people are not used to having people who will show up, who also
are coachable.
Yeah. And I said, when the time comes for promotion, those are the 2 requirements that every good manager looks for, because they know they can trust you with more.
Yeah.
Because you're going to do the work, but then you have the character to do the work well.
Yeah.
And for them to be able to trust you. And I'm like, that's really it.
Yeah. Well, I think we get down this rabbit hole, right, where you're like, our generation has been able to say, I want food warm, put it in a microwave. Where think about like our grandparents, like I want food warm.
Yeah.
Like maybe heat it up. Maybe our parents was like heated up on the stove, and like our grandparents were like, go cut firewood.
Yeah. Our grandparents are the first generation who had hot water inside.
Yeah. Yeah. When I asked my grandmother about the first time they moved to a new house, she tells me how it was by horse and buggy still.
Yeah.
And I was like, really, that blew my mind.
Yeah.
But, so I don't know. I mean, I think it's hard, right? Like we're in a cultural movement right now where like everything you're trying to make it easier and faster. But are you sacrificing the soul of the nation with like faster, easier? Because that's not always going to create these work ethics that you do.
It doesn't
have to have
equal better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure about that.
All right. So a question I like to do before the end of every episode is called the lightning round, which is a question that has nothing to do with anything. What is somewhere that you have never been that you'd like to go? And it does, or it can have an animal theme, or I want to go see this, whatever, or it could just be, I've never been, I'd love to go.
Sri Lanka.
Okay.
It has the highest density population of leopards in the world and excellent snorkeling.
Okay.
So I get both.
That took you 0 seconds to think
immediately. Like it's both jungle and a beach vacation all in one.
Okay. I want to go now. That sounds amazing.
And like they have some beautiful big like Asian elephants that are in their national forest that you can like watch bathe in the water. It sounds like.
If you don't want to go to Sri Lanka, will you buy us both tickets?
Yes.
I want to go now.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and some of the they're snorkeling out there. They do sea turtle conservation.
Yeah.
It looks dreamy.
You want to hear my sea turtle story?
Yes.
So I'm not about to save everybody. If you have ever thought about going anywhere in the Caribbean that has sea turtles, let me just save you hundreds of dollars. Amber and I went to Barbados on our honeymoon. There's, I don't know, 3 or 4 different kinds of sea turtles that they have there. And it's all the, TripAdvisor tour or whatever, the hotels are, doing the things. Well, we go and I don't know, it's like day 2 and we're, let's go swim with the sea turtles. And I should draw this out because it is, I'm certain we're not the only people who have this story, but we meet at the beach and there's, the guide and he's talking about the sea turtles, whatever. And then we go out in the boat and like everybody was like us. We're like just geeked up for going to see sea turtles. I'm not exaggerating. We're maybe 50 yards off the ocean. It's a slow slope or whatever. So we're just walking out there to the boat. And then he like fires up the engine. And I'm not kidding. We couldn't have gone 100 yards down the beach to where there was a public beach next to the resort. And that's where the turtles. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like we can see our hotel room from here. Like I'm thinking we're going to the backside of the island or some hidden cove or something like that. No. So the next day, we laughed about it or whatever. The next day, I'm like, we're getting on because they're the public transportation buses, whatever. I said, we're getting on the party bus. That's what we called it because it looked like everybody there was going to a party. We're getting on the party bus and we're just taking the party bus down to the public beach. And we literally just walked into the public beach, into the water, and have just incredible videos. I got one of those little camera bag, things you take underwater. It probably wasn't more than 20 feet deep. And there's just turtles swimming around.
Wow.
And it was so cool.
Yeah.
But it was just like, y'all know you're just robbing people. There are no repeat customers in your entire business ever. Anyway.
Great.
How do people find you? Reservations, group bookings, anything like that? And then your social media.
Yeah, our social media is going to be Atlanta Safari Park, all accounts, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And we have a lot of information if people have questions about the park on our website, and they can call if they want to. But really, we try to make it as easy as possible to send an email, or you can book reservations online if you want to. You don't have to, and tickets are good a full year from the date of purchase. So you book and decide a different day works best. It's really easy to just come a different day.
Okay. I imagine weekends are probably busy.
Weekends are busier than weekdays, definitely. And then one thing that we do offer is on the weekends, sometimes people don't want to drive their own vehicle through. So we do offer public wagons on the weekends. Those go out at 11, 1, and 3. And then sometimes we have people with large groups for birthday parties who may want like a private wagon. So we have different times that we offer those. But we'll have people email about that. Yeah.
Well, Katie, I know you have probably 16 things that you need to go do immediately right now.
That's all right. We are so grateful you came out. We love sharing this with you guys. It's really a blessing that we're able to do this. We love the animals dearly. We love sharing them with people. And it's always fun to watch other people get to enjoy it like we do.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you so much.